#1 outdoor venue.
Hi, I'm Bryan Brown. You make sure you watch Flick Tease at 8 o'clock on Access 31, or else.
Hi, welcome to Flick Tease, CTV's film review and chat show here on Access 31. So pleased you could join us because we've got a really exciting show tonight with a celebrity guest, and I do mean celebrity guest, Bryan Brown, who's in Perth to promote his new movie, Dirty Deeds. Of course, the rest of the panel are here with us tonight, Cos, Gav and John. Ronnie having a break this week. Without any further ado, though, let's go straight to the full trailer of this terrific Australian movie, Dirty Deeds.
A bit of bloody shush, all right?
There's countries on the other side of the world, they speak the same as us. They look the same. They don't look like Mexicans or nothing, do they?
So, I got no idea.
My machine's in here by tomorrow night, right?
You gonna play with that thing all night?
What else am I going to play with?
Use your bloody imagination.
Bloody ripper. You want to work for me?
Yeah. What can you do? I know how to shoot people and blow shit up.
Darcy, this is a friend of mine, Margaret.
Have to be buffeted to work for Barry.
At least I'm not letting him root me. He's old enough to be your father.
There you run the slot machines in Sydney.
Who told you that?
We want to buy in.
There's not going to be a war in the streets, you understand me? I've got everything under control.
Will you work with us?
There's a man dead and shots have been fired, and this man is still armed.
You two, piss off.
You know what I'd do if someone's doing the dirty on me? I'd cut their balls off.
Blah, blah, blah. Now, I killed Barry. You got things to sort out. The mongrel tried to kill me.
You're not getting scared, are you?
Mate, how much ammo you want? Sure you don't want any grenades. Mate, how about a bazooka?
It's truth.
Now, I told you it was good, and it's an awful lot of fun. Directed by David Caesar, who brought us Idiot Box a couple of years ago, which shamefully I haven't had chance to see yet, but everyone around here tells me how wonderful it is. And of course, we all enjoyed Mullet from last year, also directed by David Caesar. Now, Bryan Brown, of course, you produced this movie. Perhaps you could tell us, we'll go straight to you if we may, a little bit about how you got together with David to bring Dirty Deeds to the screen.
Being impressed with David, I wanted to go on the journey with him. So he wanted me to play Mr. Big. I said I'd like to produce it as well. And he said fine, and 6 years ago we started the journey.
Well, I had no idea there were so many parallels with what perhaps is a true tale. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's based on a legendary photograph that was printed in the late 60s.
Right. Now most of us have seen the movie. Some thoughts, Gavin?
Well, I'm like Bryan. I think David Caesar's a fantastic filmmaker, and I like Mullet, but that was sort of I guess a cheap sort of looking film, and this is the opposite, isn't it? It looks fantastic, and actually I thought at times it reminded me a bit of Scorsese's Goodfellas, the look of it anyway. More of, I guess, sort of jovial in a way, but I thought it was fantastic, and I just thought it was dazzling filmmaking from David Caesar. He's magnificent.
A lot of humour in it, Bryan. We laughed and laughed in the first half. Now, dare I say, did you tweak the script with a few sort of Australianisms?
Yeah, there's a few things you can't help but put in there, but David's voice is Australian, and he always said right from the beginning, he said, I want to tell a big story that's rollicking, that's colourful, and I want a lot of audience to see it, you know? And while we were doing that, he then went and did Mullet, which was a small story, quite a story, a gentle story. But you know, if you think about Idiot Box, Mullet and this, you can still see the same strong voice behind it. You can still see the same filmmaker. It's not as though he ad hoc runs and does this or that. He's still, in each of those, he's telling a story that he really knows why and what it is he wants to tell.
Yeah,
sure.
For sure.
And you mentioned Goodfellas. It's interesting because you're on the right track there. David, when he was putting the movie together, had certain scenes from certain movies that were looks that he wanted. And one of the looks was a scene from Goodfellas when they go into. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was from the other Casino. Casino. There was a scene from Casino of a room and how it was lit that he wanted done like that. Yeah. So he looks at different movies to give examples of how he wants his movie to look.
The look in the decor was amazing, and it wasn't. It was dazzling.
The look was fantastic. And I like the way some of the editing sort of methods that were used with the 3 bars coming up and that sort of stuff.
60s. It's
looked really good. 60s sort of feel.
Yeah.
But
Your thoughts, Cos?
Well, the performance is fantastic too. I mean, how does that... John Goodman is always going to be good, but so many of the others are just great.
For Sam Worthington's great, really natural.
Yeah. And he has a heroic quality, Sam, and you want that in the book, because this boy Sam Worthington plays my nephew who comes back from Vietnam and gets tied up with the mob that I run. He and the young girl are the sort of soul of the movie, 2 kids trying to find their way in life and it's going to be their own life, that they search for. And here they are being both sort of controlled by the character I play, that this is the life really that they're going to have to put up with. And towards the end of the movie they have to make up their mind which way they want to go and where they stand. And he has a natural decency about him, Sam. He doesn't have to play tough and strong. He has a heroic quality within him, which is wonderful for the movie.
There's a point where Sam Neill jumps out of a car doing a police thing, and stops all the action and starts having go at people. And I said, they never spoke like that in Division 4.
Look like Division 4.
It does have a Division 4 look, doesn't it?
Don't you like the look? Don't you like those hats and stuff?
Absolutely. We thought of dressing up like that tonight, but
no, I wear the stuff to the beach now.
All right, we've got to move on. Why don't we start with this? Why don't you explain the scoring tonight, perhaps? Because we missed that, didn't we?
In a shameless cross-promotion, we're using our goodie giveaways to do the scoring tonight. So if you really like a movie, you're going to give it loads and loads of Moorish nuts. You're going to give it 4 loads of Moorish nuts and possibly a nougat as well.
Plug.
But if you only just like it 1 to, build up on 1 to 4.
So start us off, Cos.
I'm going to start. I'm going to give it the whole range of Moorish nuts and the nougat as well. Loved Dirty Deeds, laughed, enjoyed it, good romp. And if that's what you want to make, very successful.
Yeah, romp is the word. And I think there's 2 standout scenes: the car chase at the start and the pig hunt. I'll give it 3. The only thing I'll take away from it sort of has a sort of a jovial ending to it, but now that Brian's told me that's based on fact, that changes my mind. But it's a good romp. Go and see Australian viewers. Go and see Australian film.
No, the full kit and caboodle for me. I'm a bit of a cynic when it comes to Australian movies. Shamefully,
you are.
Shamefully, I am. But this was a rollicking.
We don't usually let him get away with it.
This was a rollicking romp, and I laughed and I loved it. So 4 from me.
I'm going to go 4 as well. I agree that car chase was really, really good. Better than any of these American sort of fancy stylised things.
And the cars are great too.
Cars are great old cars. Like to see great old cars.
Happy with that? You staying for the rest of the show?
Yeah, I think you should toss the nougat in as well on your
Okay. All right then, time to perhaps move on to our next flick now. Again with a stellar cast and an Australian director. Last Orders is based on the Booker Prize award-winning novel by novelist Graham Swift, and tells a story of a group of elderly fellas who get together at the death of a friend to fulfil his last wishes or his last orders. Michael Caine plays the dear departed and is more than ably supported by British thespians Bob Hoskins, Helen Mirren, Tom Courtenay. Great cast again, guys. David Hemmings, Ray Winstone. Last Orders is the latest directorial effort of Australian director Fred Skepsey. Starts on Perth screens this Thursday. Now, Gavin, you mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago that this particular cast puts Ocean's 11 to shame. Sticking to those words?
I am going to stick to those provocative words. I am, because these guys are actors. Ocean's don't have these guys just doing what they do, which is to be cool. But I thought, actually, Tom Courtenay's one of my favourite all-time actors, and I think probably my only criticism of this flick is he doesn't have a whole lot to do. But I love this film. It's a gentle film, but what I like, it really unfolds as you go through those flashback sequences, and you don't know how all these guys are connected until it goes through the story. And what I like about it, it's just life, isn't it? It just tells what happens in life, and it's a little bit like a soap opera in a way, but I just think the performances are fantastic. It's not really a Michael Caine film, is it? No. He's great, but it's an ensemble piece, and I think Helen Mirren and Bob Hoskins, Their performances are fantastic, and I think everyone should go out and see this one. It's a little film. Forget about Spider-Man and flicks like this. Go and see this one. It's great.
I thought it was going to be a bit sort of EastEnder episode-ish because it started off in the pub and they're all going, oh yeah, you know, farewell. But it was so well told, and the unfolding of all these memories. And I think, you know, so often we just don't have time for older people's memories of the war and that sort. And it's so important.
Fascinating.
So
and
interestingly
did
told.
you shed a tear? I did.
I did.
Oh,
I did.
It must have been good then.
I had a bit of a weep.
No, I didn't have a weep at all. I was actually getting a bit frustrated with them, not near the end, but sort of just before, sort of around this sort of
just
time.
Hurry up and get there.
Get back in the car and get a move on and get there.
No, I just wanted
it was really nice.
On. I was so
and
happy.
What I really liked about it is they all shared, the whole script was shared around with all the characters, so you didn't sort of have to focus on one particular person. So I reckon it was really good.
Now, how good was the casting? That
flashback of Michael Caine.
Flashback of Michael Caine. How much does he look like Michael Caine in Alfie?
Yeah.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. No,
Have you haven't had a chance to catch this yet, Brian?
No, they're all great actors, all the people in this, and I've always been a massive fan of Michael Caine. I just think he's a sensational actor. It's interesting you're talking about Last Orders here and Skepsy. The thing that David Caesar reminds me so much of is those directors in the 70s that brought the industry to the world, like Skepsy, Beresford and Weir. Yeah. David has the same sort of capacity. He spent the same amount of time like those guys did. He didn't do one film and then race off and say, I've got to do a big Hollywood movie and perhaps fall apart. He's learnt why he wants to tell film, and he's got very strong in what he wants to tell, so that if he does go and tell some other culture story, he will know why he's there, you know. And David reminds me very much of these blokes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. More to come from David, I hope.
Scoring Andre.
Yes. Why don't you start with this?
I'm going to go for the whole kit and caboodle. I'm with Andre. It's one of the movies of the year, and people would say, "Oh, it's very slight, it's slow moving," but it's not. It's and forget about I Am Sam with that syrupy sort of manipulative. This has got a better scene in that with Helen Mirren and the daughter, spoiler alert, and also Paul Grabowski, who's an Australian. His score is fantastic. Remember him from Steve Vai?
That was a bit I cried in, the Helen Mirren and the daughter character thing, but yep, 4 whole nuts and a big old nougat for me.
Fair income. This is one of the best movies I've seen.
And you said straight at the end, I want my parents to see this. I love it so much.
I do want my folks to see that. It's a real movie that you'll go and recommend. I loved it. The whole deal for me. Jonathan?
I loved it as well. I'll go the 4 boxes of nuts. You are right. It's for our parents to go and see. They'll lose the teenage audience here, and no teenagers will go and see it. But I don't think that they're not even intending that, are they?
Well, they can go and see Dirty Deeds while their parents are around.
They can. They'll love it. All right then. Just before the break, then competition time. I think it's you, Jono.
All right. Well, thanks to Scott from BMG, I've got 10 copies of the Dirty Deeds soundtrack to give away. So we need a good question for this, and I'd rather do some sort of people's thoughts on things. This has got a lot of covers on it, and I'd want to know whether people like soundtracks that have covers, or you'd rather have AC/DC doing Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap. So, what's your thoughts on that?
As in UMI.
UMI
instead of UMI.
No, it's not UMI. It's Tex Perkins.
Tex Perkins with UMI.
UMI. It's very down and dirty.
Yes. So I want to know what people think, whether they prefer the originals to covers.
Give us the address, John.
flicktees@hotmail.com.
And your name and address, please.
Name and address, please.
Some people aren't putting it.
Cos has got one as well, Andre.
Yep.
Well, they don't win. No address, no win.
Yeah,
I have got a fabulous giveaway pack thanks to Shaney Bar. I've got a bottle of wine, beautiful, a pass to Dirty Deeds, double pass. I've got the Dirty Deeds soundtrack and the soon-to-be signed Dirty Deeds poster. Oh, we didn't mention that.
I wonder if I can do that.
Yeah, we hope so.
And all you have to do to win this fabulous Dirty Deeds giveaway is email us at flicktees@hotmail.com and do tell us what you think is Bryan Brown's best movie in his huge filmography and why.
Why
so
being
do that,
important.
do a little bit of homework and you may win.
Good on you, Cos. flicktees@hotmail.com. More from us and more from Bryan Brown after the break. Stick around. Hi, welcome back to Flick Tees. Thanks for sticking around. Now, before we move on, we'd like to have a little chat with our very special guest celebrity panellist tonight, Bryan Brown. Bryan, I'm so gobsmacked and starstruck that I can't think of anything to ask you, but I know Jono's got a couple of questions.
You are hopeless. I was watching this thing on SBS about the Loonig animations that you've been involved in, and I was just sort of wondering, sounds like it was a work of sort of passion
Well, about 3 years ago, I thought it'd be a good idea to animate Michael Looney. His cartoons are really quite extraordinary. He's a storyteller, you know. So I spent 2 years trying to talk him into it, and then he eventually did say that he'd do it, and we did a documentary on Michael Looney by exploring the making of by animating his cartoons, and then we ended up with 50 animated cartoons a minute long, and they're on SBS, for 2 years. Yeah.
As fillers between movies and
they're just they're little stories.
They're on often.
3 or 4 a night.
Yeah.
But he's a fascinating bloke, Michael Looney. He's a fascinating storyteller.
One other little question that you might have answered earlier. One of the things I really loved about Dirty Deeds was the Australian colloquialisms. And did you tweak the script a little bit yourself?
A little bit, but really didn't need to. That's David's strength. I mean, I pick up a script and it says something like, "Well, what am I supposed to do? Drop me strides and give him the nod?" I mean, I actually don't wander around saying that. David's just great at all that stuff. He's really steeped in it, and I mean, he knew that this story, because of the style of what it was and what he wanted, he could really go to town on that, and it wouldn't feel like it was just put in there for the sake of it. It fitted these people.
It did.
You know, I don't think it was anywhere near as broad as that in Mullet. Yet Mullet was a very Australian piece, but a more gentler piece.
So how's this going to go down OS in the?
Well, I think the strength of it is its Australianness, and if if you've got a really good story and it's steeped in something exotic, and this becomes exotic, people want to see it.
Fingers crossed.
I think so too.
All right then, John, back to you with some soundtrack recommendations.
Some soundtracks? Yeah, well, I'm sort of revisiting a few soundtracks from the last couple of years. First one I'm going to do is this Hard Word. I mentioned this last week or the week before, and I made some comment about Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse.
Yeah, that was pretty obscure, John.
People sort of thought it was a bit odd.
We've had emails about that one.
I only talk about soundtracks that I like, so it's not a negative comment. It's sort of had a hard, sort of raspy sort of sound to that first track. Now, David Thrussell also did Angst, which was about a year and a half ago. Completely different style. This is more a dancey sort of soundtrack. It's completely different to the Hard Word. Check both those out. One from quite a while ago is Love and Other Catastrophes, which not really going to tell you anything about this one. I like it, and go and have a listen and see if you like it. And a fantastic one from 2000 is Chopper. This has got some great old Australian songs. And this, to me, leads into the Dirty Deeds soundtrack, which has a lot of covers of great Australian songs, sort of run by UMI, with special guests coming in to sing the songs. It's really good. Check this one out, and if you're lucky enough, you can win one of our copies that we've got to give away.
Cool.
All right, good on you, Jono. Now, with thanks to Richard and the team down at Mosman Video, good friends of ours. Gav, you got a bit of a video theme tonight.
Yes,
good
for
theme.
Obvious reasons. A Bryan Brown retrospective. These are my favourites. In fact, this is not from Mosman Video. This is my soon-to-be autographed personal copy of Breaker Moran, which is my number 3 film of all time, but obviously my number 1 Australian film. I'm a big Bruce Beresford fan. I cried in this, and I don't cry in films. See this one, I'd have to tell you to see, because I've mentioned this on the show many times. See Breaker Moran.
Solid cat.
Another movie was just out before Breaker Moran, Money Moves. I think this is a fantastic Australian crime flick, and this should be revisited. I think it's a real underrated gem. Not only is Bryan in good form in it, but you've got Terence Donovan, Ed Devereaux, Tony Bonner and Bruce Beresford, Don McAlpine cinematography.
Is that the one where they have the bloody...
the toe cutters.
Toe cutters.
It's a terrific story. It's gory, but it's got that great Australian rawness and comedy in it. See Money Movies at Mosman Video.
in it too, I'm
She
sure.
is too. And last but not least, the movie that Bryan mentioned earlier, Dead Heart, which is a terrific flick. It's provocative. It obviously tells an Indigenous story. Check this one out, Mosman Video. They're just some of Bryan Brown's classic films you can check out. Thank you.
Good on you, Gav. Now, Bryan, we've kind of spooked you with this one. You've got right of reply, of course. We've got a segment occasionally called our rant, where we can vent our spleen on any particular issue that we care to.
Usually it's people digging for diamonds at the bottom of a chip packet during the movie. But you can have a more important issue if you want.
But the floor's
Or those mobile phones which just keep going off. I just can't understand why people don't turn them off.
Well, it's very difficult for me to have a rant. I sort of like things and people and everything, and I'm not really very angry sort of person.
You had a bit of a rant.
If someone does put their get their chip packet going in front of them, blah, blah, knock their block off. I don't know.
You had a bit of a rant at the Australian Film Awards a while ago.
No, I didn't have a rant at the Australian Film Awards. What I did was that I'll clear the air on that. What it was that the weekend before, Australia had voted for us to remain under the monarchy, and I turned on the TV, and Fox, which is hyping itself out of existence, was there saying how what a wonderful thing it was for the Australian film industry, and decided to celebrate American cinema. So I turned on the TV set that weekend to find out that the Poms were still running us, and all we ever do is idolise Yanks. So I wasn't thinking it was a great weekend. So I had decided that when and if I got an award for Two Hands, that I might just remind myself and those people there in the audience of some Australian actors who I felt had really defined our industry and defined the Australian identity. That's all I did. I'd said that I would like to add names to the names that had been mentioned at Fox Studios, of which they'd mentioned Kate was there and Nick was there, and they'd mentioned Jeffrey, and they'd mentioned Russell. So I decided to add names to that as I felt. So that's all that happened. I guess the fact that I bothered to say something anti-Fox in the middle of Fox caused the soldiers of News Corporation to hastily race out to the barricades and try and rubbish me in every way they could for the next couple of years. Luckily, they've come round now and they've sort of gone, oh, he's just a bit of a dill, and so they're actually being nice to me.
Oh, you clear that up.
There you have it.
There's a scoop on 31. There you go.
Because everyone's watching, so
absolutely, I will be this week.
Nice. Good on you, Bryan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good to be in Perth. Good to be on Access 31. Thank you.
Thank you. Competitions, Gav. More
competitions. Got a whole
giving away the house.
Thanks to Luna Palace and thanks to Rachel, who's a good supporter of the show. We have in-season passes to a flick called Focus, starring William H. Macy, one of Andre's favourites, Laura Dern, and Meatloaf, would you believe? He's doing a bit of acting these days. Flicktease@hotmail.com. Send your name and address, and the simple question or answer you have to come up with is Laura Dern's, this is her third flick at the cinemas at the moment. Name the other two, which is one with Sean Penn, one with Steve Martin. We reviewed them both pretty favourably. Name those two.
You need to look it up in the TV guide to tell us.
Flicktease@hotmail.com.
You could win the whole bag.
I only ever eat Moorish nuts.
Oh, there you go.
That's
We'll do a promo around it.
Would you like some nougat?
And just a quick plug as well, Andre, while we're at it. This weekend, coming at the Luna Cinemas, the St Kilda Film Festival, which is a great array of shorts. Get out to the Luna. Just hot on the heels of Revelation Film Festival is fantastic. This weekend at the Luna Cinemas, the St Kilda Film Festival. Get out there and see it.
On tour around Australia, yes. All right then, that's the end of our show. Thanks so much to our guest, Bryan Brown. Terrific to meet you, and thanks for finding the time for us tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great to be here.
Can you mix me a cocktail?
Maybe later.
You sure you don't want a beer?
Yeah, beer might be better.
What a good idea. Don't forget to tune into Flick Tease next week. From all of us, do take care, and good night.
So if you're the producer,
just a quick chat question. Bryan at 1:30 is going to cut it.
Because you're the producer? Or?
No, but it better be good. It's hard to make money. It's hard to get money.
John's got one.
You know, it all comes down to what is it, the script has an enormous amount to do with it. Particularly when you're talking about independent filmmaking, which is not Hollywood going, oh, we can do an Ocean's 11, shove all these people together and automatically put the money up for it. If you're wanting to make a film like A Last Order, it's very difficult to make. It's very difficult to make.
Even if you're breastfed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those things don't count.
I'm doing that Coswell.
No, not these days. Not these days. No, you've got to. He would have fought and battled, and luckily he was able to get that cast, and it was him and the Booker Project. So that they turn around and go, okay, with that, all right, we might see that can make some money somewhere. We'll give you the money for it. No, it's not easy. Not easy. But it's funny that movie. I got married to an Englishwoman, brought her over here, and she saw it the week after, well, a month after we got married or something. And when she saw it, she looked and she said, "If you'd have shown me that before you married me, I'd never marry you."